The alien ship was bigger than anything humans had ever seen. It hung above the city of Seoul like a dark cloud, blocking the sun and casting a shadow over millions of people. Commander Tae Hyon stood on the roof of the military headquarters and watched it with cold eyes. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth. He had seen death and destruction. But this was something new. The Galactic Council had arrived. For thousands of years, 7 alien species had ruled the stars. They controlled 47 star systems and believed they were the masters of the universe. When their long-range sensors detected radio signals from Earth, they sent a delegation to investigate. What they found was a small blue planet full of creatures who had just learned to travel faster than light. Humans. The council saw them as children. Dangerous children who had spent their entire history killing each other. The aliens had watched Earth's broadcasts for decades. They saw the world wars, the nuclear weapons, the endless conflicts. They decided that humans needed to be controlled before they became a threat. Ambassador Guan was chosen to meet with the council delegation. She was young, only 35, but she had spent her life studying alien cultures. She believed in peace. She believed that humans could join the galactic community as equals. She was wrong. The meeting took place inside the alien ship. Guan walked through corridors made of metal that seemed to breathe. The walls glowed with soft light. Everything was designed to make her feel small. When she entered the council chamber, she saw them for the first time. Counselor Vexler was a reptilian creature with scales the color of blood. He sat at the center of a long table, surrounded by representatives from the other 6 species. Some had fur, some had shells, some had tentacles. All of them looked at Guan like she was an insect. "You are the human ambassador," Vexler said. His voice was cold and sharp. "We have studied your species. You are violent, primitive, and dangerous. The Galactic Council has decided that Earth will become a protectorate under our control." Guan kept her face calm, but her heart was beating fast. "What does that mean?" "It means you will pay tribute to us. 20% of your resources every cycle. Your military will be reduced to a defense force of no more than 1,000 soldiers. Your space program will be supervised by council inspectors. Any violation will result in pacification." "Pacification?" Vexler smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We will burn your cities until you submit." The other aliens laughed. Guan felt anger rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. She had to stay calm. She had to find a way to negotiate. "We did not ask for this meeting," she said carefully. "We have done nothing to threaten the council. We only want to explore the stars in peace." "Peace?" Another alien spoke up. This one was covered in black fur with 6 eyes that gleamed in the dim light. "Your species has never known peace. You kill each other over land, over resources, over ideas. You are a disease. The council will cure you." The aliens laughed again. Guan realized that they were not here to negotiate. They were here to deliver orders. In their eyes, humans were not people. They were animals to be tamed. She bowed her head slightly. "I will bring your message to my leaders." "You have 30 days, Vexler said. "If you do not comply, our fleet will come to Earth. 12,000 warships. Your entire species will learn the price of disobedience." Guan returned to Earth with the Council's demands. Emergency meetings were held in every nation. World leaders argued and debated. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to run. Commander Taehyun listened to all of them. He was a quiet man who had learned long ago that talking was often a waste of time. While the politicians argued, he began to plan. Captain Yuna came to see him 3 days after the alien ship left. She was the commander of the Prometheus, humanity's first deep space warship. She was 40 years old with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too much death. "What are we going to do?" she asked. Taehyun looked out his window at the city below. Millions of people living their lives, not knowing that everything could end in less than a month. "We're going to fight," he said. "With what?" "We have 200 ships. They have 12,000. Then we don't fight the way they expect. On the 29th day, Ambassador Jiwan requested another meeting with the Galactic Council. She stood before them again in their chamber of metal and light. This time she was not alone. Commander Tae-hyon stood beside her. Vexler looked pleased. "You have come to submit." "No," Jiwan said. "We have come to respond." She stepped aside. Tae-hyon walked forward until he was standing directly in front of the council table. He was shorter than most of the aliens, but he did not seem small. There was something in his eyes that made even Vexler uncomfortable. "You came to our world," Tae-hyon said. His voice was quiet but firm. "You threatened our people. You demanded our submission. You called us primitive and violent." He paused. "You were right. We are violent. We have fought wars since the beginning of our history. We have killed millions of our own kind. We are very, very good at it." The aliens shifted in their seats. This was not what they expected. "But you made a mistake," Tae-hyon continued. "You thought our violence was a weakness. You thought it made us easy to control? You were wrong. It makes us dangerous." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button. Suddenly, his voice was broadcasting across every channel in the galaxy. Every ship, every station, every world controlled by the Council could hear him. "This is Commander Tae-hyon Earth. We received your demands. Here is our answer." He looked directly at Vexler. "We are coming for you." The chamber was silent. Vexler stared at the human with wide eyes. Then he started to laugh. The other aliens joined him. Their laughter filled the room. "You are coming for us?" Vexler said between laughs. "With your tiny fleet? Your primitive weapons? You will be destroyed before you leave your own system." Tae-hyon did not smile. He did not react. He simply turned and walked out of the chamber. Jiwan followed him, behind them. The aliens continued to laugh. They did not know that across human space, factories were working day and night. Ships were being built. Soldiers were being trained. Scientists were finishing weapons that the Council could not imagine. They did not know that humanity had already begun to move. They would learn soon. "Enough," Lieutenant Minho pressed his body against the cold metal wall and held his breath. Two alien guards walked past him, so close that he could smell them. They smelled like rotting fruit and chemicals. He did not move. He did not blink. His suit bent the light around him, making him almost invisible. The guards passed without seeing him. Minho waited 30 seconds, then continued moving through the corridor. This was the Galactic Council's largest military base in the Outer Rim. 10,000 soldiers lived here. Hundreds of warships were docked in the hangars. The aliens believed it was completely secure. They were wrong. 3 weeks had passed since Commander Tae-hyon delivered humanity's warning. The Council's leaders were still laughing about it. They called it the funniest thing they had heard in centuries. A primitive species threatening the greatest power in the galaxy? It was a joke, but across Council space, strange things were happening. Ships disappeared from sensor screens and then reappeared seconds later in different locations. Military officers reported seeing shadows moving in restricted areas. Computer systems glitched for no reason. Guards heard footsteps in empty hallways. The aliens started calling them ghosts. Dr. Hyjin had made it all possible. She was 53 years old with messy gray hair and glasses that were always dirty. She had spent 20 years studying quantum physics, and she had discovered something incredible. She called it phase slip technology. "The universe has layers," she explained to Commander Tae-hyon when she first showed him her invention. "Most of the time we exist in one layer. But with the right equipment, we can slip between layers. We become like ghosts. We can see everything, but no one can see us." Tae-hyon understood immediately. "We can go anywhere." "Anywhere," Hyjin confirmed. The first human infiltration teams were sent out within days of the Council's deadline. They were small groups of 3 or 4 soldiers equipped with phase slip suits. Their mission was not to attack. It was to watch. Lieutenant Minho led the team that infiltrated the Council's flagship, the Eternal Dominion. It was the largest warship ever built, 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets open. Minho's team spent 6 days on board. They mapped every corridor, recorded every conversation, and planted tiny surveillance devices that were smaller than grains of rice when they left. No one knew they had been there. Specialist Dayon worked in a small room on Earth filled with computer screens. She was only 28, but she was already the best hacker in human history. Her job was to listen to everything. The surveillance devices that Minho and the other teams planted sent data back to Earth constantly. Dayon captured it all. Military orders, supply routes, fleet positions, communication codes. Within 2 weeks, she knew more about the Council's military than most Council generals did. "They're not very careful," she told Taehyun. "They encrypt their messages, but the encryption is old. They haven't updated in centuries." "Why would they? No one has ever challenged them. Can you read everything?" Dayon smiled. "I can read their personal messages. I know what they ate for dinner last night." The information flowed to Taehyun's command center like a river. He studied it for hours every day, building a complete picture of the Council's military. He learned their strengths and their weaknesses. He learned how they thought. General Quan was the commander of the Council's defense forces. He was an alien with gray skin and 4 arms. He had won 100 battles in his long career, and he had never lost. But now he was worried. Reports were coming in from across Council space. Ghost sightings, system failures, missing equipment. None of it made sense. "We are being watched," he told the Council. "The humans are here. They are inside our borders." Councillor Vexter waved his hand dismissively. "Impossible. Our sensors would detect them. Our sensors have detected nothing. That is what worries me." "Then you are jumping at shadows, General. The humans are trapped on their little planet, waiting for our fleet to destroy them. They are not a threat." Quan wanted to argue, but he knew it was pointless. The Council had already made up their minds about humanity. They would not listen to warnings. So Quan did the only thing he could. He doubled the patrols. He increased security at every base. He sent ships to search every corner of Council space for signs of human activity. This was exactly what Taehyun wanted. "They're spreading thin," Captain Yuna reported from her ship, the Prometheus. She was hiding in an asteroid field near Council space, watching enemy fleet movements. "Quan is sending ships everywhere. He's trying to cover every possible target." Taehyun nodded. "Good. Keep them running. The more tired they get, the more mistakes they'll make." For 3 weeks, the Ghost Protocol continued. Human teams infiltrated dozens of Council installations. They never attacked. They never left evidence. They just watched and recorded and disappeared. The Council military grew exhausted. Soldiers were jumpy and paranoid. They saw threats everywhere. They started making mistakes. Ships collided during patrol. Officers gave wrong orders. Equipment was misplaced, and all the while, the data kept flowing back to Earth. Taehyun stood in his command center, looking at a holographic map of Council space. Every military base was marked. Every fleet was tracked. Every weakness was noted. "We know everything," Specialist Dayon said. "Their fleet positions, their communication codes, their supply routes. We know when their ships need fuel and where they get it. We know which commanders are good and which are idiots. We know everything." Taehyun studied the map for a long moment. "Then we're ready," he said on the 30th day. The Council's pacification fleet began its journey to Earth, 12,000 warships, the largest armada ever assembled. They moved through space like a swarm of angry insects, ready to burn humanity into submission. General Quan watched them go with a feeling of dread in his stomach. Something was wrong. The humans had been too quiet. They had not tried to negotiate. They had not tried to run. They had simply said, "We are coming for you," and then gone silent. What were they planning? The answer came 3 days later. Quan was on the Council homeworld when the alarms started. Attack warnings from 15 different star systems. Human ships appearing out of nowhere, striking military bases and shipyards. Not Earth, not defense. Attack. The humans were not waiting for the Council fleet. They were attacking Council space. Quan stared at the reports in disbelief. This was impossible. The humans had only 200 ships. They could not attack 15 systems at once. They could not know where all the bases were. They could not, but they were doing it. And Li Quan understood. The ghosts. The weeks of surveillance. The humans had been mapping everything. They knew every target, every weakness, every gap in the Council's defenses. They had been preparing for this moment from the very beginning. The Council fleet was weeks away from the homeworlds. By the time they could return, the damage would be done. Quan sent an emergency message to the fleet commanders. Return immediately. The homeworlds are under attack. But he knew it was too late. The humans had kept their promise. They had come. Admiral Junho stood on the bridge of the battleship Unity and watched the alien orbital station grow larger on his viewscreen. It was a massive structure, shaped like a ring, with dozens of warships docked along its edges. This was one of the Council's main military shipyards. Every year, it produced 50 new warships for the Council fleet. In 10 minutes, it would produce nothing. All ships report status, Junho ordered. Voices came back through his communicator. 32 human ships, arranged in attack formation, all waiting for his command. It was not a large force. The station had more than 100 ships defending it. But Junho was not worried. He knew something the aliens did not. Launch fighters, he said. 300 small fighter craft burst from the human ships and raced toward the station. They moved in perfect formation, weaving through space like a flock of deadly birds. Pilot Sunwoo was at the front, leading the attack. Sunwoo was 26 years old and completely fearless. He had grown up flying planes on Earth and had been one of the first pilots trained for space combat. He was also incredibly annoying. He talked too much, he never followed orders exactly, and he believed he was the best pilot in the universe. The problem was, he might be right. Enemy fighters launching, his wingman reported. 200 and counting. Sunwoo grinned. Only 200? I was hoping for a challenge. The alien fighters came at them fast. They were larger than human fighters, with heavier weapons and stronger shields. In a straight fight, they would win easily, but this was not a straight fight. Break formation, Sunwoo ordered. Pattern 7. The human fighters scattered in all directions. The aliens tried to follow, but the human ships were smaller and faster. They turned sharper and accelerated quicker. The alien pilots had never fought an enemy like this. Sunwoo dove toward a group of 3 alien fighters. They fired at him, but he twisted and rolled, dodging every shot. He flew between 2 of them, so close that he could see the pilots inside. Before they could react, he was behind them. 2 shots. 2 explosions. 2 dead aliens. The 3rd alien tried to run. Sunwoo caught him in 3 seconds. Across the battle, the human fighters were cutting through the alien forces. They worked in pairs, covering each other, using their speed and agility to avoid damage while delivering precise kills. The aliens were trained for fleet battles where size and firepower mattered most. They did not know how to fight small, fast enemies who refused to stay still within 4 minutes. Half the alien fighters were destroyed. Admiral Junho watched the battle with satisfaction. Capital ships, move in. Target the station's weapon systems. The 32 human warships advanced. They were smaller than Council ships, but they were armed with weapons that Dr. Haijin's team had designed specifically for this war. Railguns that fired projectiles at incredible speed. Missiles that could change direction mid-flight. Energy beams that cut through shields like paper. The station's defenders tried to fight back. They fired their massive cannons at the human ships. But the humans had studied these weapons for weeks. They knew the firing patterns, the reload times, the blind spots. They danced around the alien fire, taking minimal damage while delivering devastating blows. Target the power core, Junho ordered. Let's finish this. Captain Yuna's ship, the Prometheus, led the final attack. She had positioned her squadron on the far side of the station, away from the main battle. Now she struck from behind, hitting the station's power systems before they could redirect their defenses. Direct hit, her weapons officer reported. The core is destabilizing. All ships pull back, Junho commanded. The human fleet retreated to a safe distance. 30 seconds later, the station exploded. A ball of white fire consumed the entire structure, along with the remaining alien ships docked there. Debris scattered across thousands of kilometers of space. Junho checked his battle report. 8 minutes. They had destroyed one of the Council's largest shipyards in 8 minutes. Human losses: 3 fighters, no capital ships. Similar reports were coming in from across Council space. 15 simultaneous attacks, all successful. Shipyards destroyed. Military bases burned. Supply depots captured. The humans were cutting through the Council's military infrastructure, like a knife through soft fruit on the Council homeworld. Councillor Vexler received the reports with growing horror. "This is impossible," he said. "They cannot be everywhere at once. They only have 200 ships." "They are not everywhere," General Quan replied grimly. "They are exactly where they need to be. They know our weaknesses. They have been studying us for weeks. Then recall the fleet. Bring them back to defend the homeworlds." "I already have. But they are 3 weeks away, and the humans know that too." Vexler felt something he had not felt in centuries: fear. The human attacks continued. They never stayed in one place for long. They would strike a target, destroy it quickly, and disappear before reinforcements could arrive. When Council ships came to defend one system, the humans attacked another. Admiral Junho called it the dance. "We lead, they follow. We set the rhythm, they try to keep up. But they're always one step behind." Commander Tae Hyun coordinated everything from Earth. He watched the reports coming in and adjusted the strategy in real time. When the Council moved ships to defend their fuel stations, he ordered attacks on their communication relays. When they protected their communication relays, he hit their food supplies. The Council could not defend everything. They were too big, too spread out. Every choice they made left something else unprotected. Captain Yuna led her squadron through 6 engagements in 2 weeks. They destroyed 2 more shipyards, a major fuel depot, and a fleet of transport ships carrying weapons to the front lines. Her crew was exhausted, but they kept fighting. "How long can we keep this up?" her first officer asked. "As long as we need to," Yuna replied. "This is not about winning battles. It's about breaking their will to fight." When the Council's pacification fleet finally returned to their territory, they found devastation. 40% of their military infrastructure was gone. Shipyards that had taken centuries to build were now clouds of debris. Bases that had housed thousands of soldiers were burned out shells, and the humans were still attacking. General Quan tried to catch them, but they were always one step ahead. They knew his movements before he made them. They knew his orders before he gave them. Specialist Dan was still listening to everything, and Commander Tae Hyun was still planning. The Council called an emergency meeting. Councillor Vexler stood before the other leaders, his scales pale with stress. "We must negotiate," he said. "We cannot win this war. Negotiate?" Another councillor, a being with blue skin and no eyes, spoke with anger. "We are the Galactic Council. We do not negotiate with primitives. These primitives have destroyed half our military in 3 weeks. If we do not stop them, they will destroy the other half. Then we will build more ships. We will make more soldiers. We will crush them eventually." "Eventually?" Vexler shook his head. "They are not trying to conquer us. They are trying to exhaust us. Every ship we lose takes years to replace. Every soldier we lose takes decades to train. They are bleeding us dry." The Council argued for hours. Some wanted to continue the war. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to surrender. They could not agree on anything, and while they argued, the human attacks continued. Admiral Junho received a message from Commander Tae Hyun. "The Council is breaking. Press harder." Junho smiled and gave the order. The human fleet struck 3 more systems that night. The war was far from over. But the Council was learning a lesson they would never forget. humanity kept its promises. 6 months into the war, and the Galactic Council was falling apart. Ambassador Giwan sat in her office on Earth and read the intelligence reports with satisfaction. The Council's 7 species were blaming each other for everything. The reptilian Dominari blamed the insectoid Velcor for weak defenses. The Velcor blamed the blue-skinned Thesians for bad intelligence. The Thesians blamed everyone for not listening to their warnings. Every week, the arguments grew worse. Ships from different council species refused to work together. Officers from one species would not take orders from commanders of another. The great alliance that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was cracking, and Jiwan was helping it break. Commander Tehayan had given her a simple mission. "We cannot beat them with ships and weapons," he said. "They have too many. So we beat them with words and ideas. Make them doubt each other. Make them fear each other. Make them hate each other more than they hate us." Jiwan began by sending messages. Captain Sora led the psychological warfare team. She was 39 years old with a soft voice and a kind face. She looked like a schoolteacher, but her mind was a weapon sharper than any missile. "Every species has fears," Sora explained to her team. "Every species has old wounds that never healed. We find those wounds and we press on them." The messages were broadcast across council space, tailored to each species. To the Velcor, the insectoid creatures who had founded the council thousands of years ago, the message was, "Your partners use you as shields. Your soldiers die while theirs hide behind defensive lines. Is this the alliance your ancestors built?" To the Thesians, the message was, "Your leaders knew this war was a mistake. They warned the council, but no one listened. Now your children die for Dominari pride." To the smaller species, the message was, "You never wanted this war. You were forced to send your ships, your soldiers, your resources. The Dominari and Velcor will sacrifice you all to protect themselves." The messages were not lies. That was the key. Everything Captain Sora said was based on truth. The council species had never truly trusted each other. They had stayed together because the alliance made them strong. But now the alliance was making them weak, and old hatreds were rising to the surface. Councillor Velcros was one of the oldest members of the council. He was a Velcor, an insectoid creature with a hard shell and many legs. His species had helped create the Galactic Council 2,000 years ago. He had believed in the alliance his entire life, but now he was having doubts. The war was a disaster. Velcros had seen the reports. The humans were destroying council forces with ease. And instead of working together to fight back, the council species were fighting each other. The Dominari blamed the Velcor for not defending the outer systems. The Velcor blamed the Dominari for starting the war in the first place. Both blamed the Thesians for their defeatist attitude. The smaller species were angry at everyone. Velcros had tried to bring them together. He had spoken at council meetings, calling for unity, but no one listened. Councillor Vexler called him a coward. The Thesian representative called him a fool. Even his own people were starting to question his leadership. Then the human message arrived. It was private, sent directly to Velcros on an encrypted channel that the other council members could not access. When he opened it, he saw a human woman with calm eyes and a gentle smile, Ambassador Jiwan. "Councillor Velcros," she said, "I hope you will listen to what I have to say. We are not your enemies. We never wanted this war. We only wanted to live in peace. But your council gave us no choice. They came to our world and demanded our submission. They threatened to burn our cities and kill our children. What would you have done?" Velcros wanted to close the message, but something made him keep watching. "I know you are not like the others," Jiwan continued. "I have studied your speeches. I have read your writings. You believe in cooperation, not domination. You believe in peace, not war. We believe in the same things. So why are we fighting?" She leaned forward slightly. "The Dominari started this war because they were afraid of us. They thought if they crushed us quickly, we would never be a threat. But they were wrong. And now your people are dying for their mistake. Your ships are burning. Your soldiers are not coming home. And for what? Dominari pride? Velcros felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. I am offering you a choice, Jawan said. Humanity will not attack Velcor worlds. We will not kill Velcor soldiers. We will sign a non-aggression pact with your species, separate from the rest of the Council. You can end this war for your people today, right now, with a single decision. The message ended. Velcro sat in silence for a long time. He thought about his people. He thought about the thousands who had already died in this pointless war. He thought about the thousands more who would die if it continued, and he thought about the Council. The alliance he had believed in his whole life. The alliance that was now crumbling because its members could not stop blaming each other for their failures. Was it worth saving? He made his decision. 3 days later, Velcro secretly contacted Ambassador Juwan. They talked for hours, negotiating terms. 1 week after that, the Velcor Confederacy signed a non-aggression pact with humanity. When the news reached the Council, there was chaos. Councillor Vexler was furious. Traitors! He screamed. The Velcor have betrayed us all. But his anger only made things worse. 2 other species, the Veshans and the small, furry creatures called the Morwani, saw what the Velcor had done. They saw that humanity was willing to make peace with individual species. They saw a way out of the war within weeks. Both species signed their own agreements with humanity. The Galactic Council of 7 was now a council of 4. Commander Taehyun watched the reports with grim satisfaction. 3 down, he said. 4 to go. The remaining council species turned on each other. The Dominari accused the others of planning to betray them. The others accused the Dominari of starting a war they could not win. Ships from different species fired on each other by accident. Officers refused to cooperate. The alliance was dying. Captain Sora increased her psychological operations. She broadcast messages showing council species attacking each other. She spread rumors that secret deals were being made behind closed doors. She made every species believe that the others were planning to abandon them. Most of it was true. That was the worst part. Councillor Vexler tried desperately to hold the council together. He gave speeches about unity and strength. He promised that victory was still possible. But no one believed him anymore. The war had gone on too long. Too many had died. And humanity was still out there, still attacking, still winning. Ambassador Juwan sent one more message to the remaining council. It was simple. Your alliance is broken. Your military is crippled. Your people are tired of dying. This war is over. The only question is how many more will die before you accept it. Vexler watched the message alone in his chamber. He looked old and tired. His scales had lost their color. His eyes had lost their fire. He had started this war believing it would be easy. He had thought humans were primitives who would break at the first show of force. He had been so certain. Now his certainty was ashes, and his alliance was burning. He wondered if he should have listened to that first human warning, "We are coming for you." They had come. And they had brought something worse than weapons. They had brought the truth, and the truth had destroyed everything 1 year after the warning. The war was over. The Galactic Council had officially dissolved 3 months ago. The last 4 member species had signed peace agreements with humanity, one by one, as their alliance crumbled around them. There was no final battle, no great surrender ceremony. The council simply fell apart, broken by its own fear and distrust. Commander Taehyun stood on a hill on Earth and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of aliens were trying to figure out what came next. The order they had known for thousands of years was gone. The rules they had lived by no longer existed. They were lost, and it was his fault. Captain Yuna found him there just before sunset. She had spent the last few months exploring former council space, making contact with alien worlds, ensuring that the peace held. She looked tired but satisfied. "We did it," she said, standing beside him. "We actually did it." Taehyun nodded slowly. "We did. You don't sound happy." He was quiet for a moment. 42,000 humans died in this war. Probably 10 times that many aliens. Maybe more. We'll never know the real number. They started it. I know. And I would make the same choices again. But that doesn't mean I have to be happy about it. Yuna understood. Victory always came with a price. The question was whether the price was worth paying. On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Jiwan was meeting with representatives from a dozen alien species. They gathered on a space station that had once belonged to the Council, now neutral territory. The aliens looked at her with a mixture of fear, respect, and hope. We are not here to replace the Galactic Council, Jiwan told them. We are not here to rule over you or demand your submission. We are here to offer something different. She activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. For thousands of years, the Council controlled this region through force. If you disobeyed, they destroyed you. If you questioned them, they silenced you. That is not our way. She highlighted several star systems on the map. Humanity proposes a new alliance. We call it the Free Systems Accord. Any species can join voluntarily. Any species can leave when they choose. Decisions will be made together through discussion and vote. No single species will control the others. The aliens murmured among themselves. This was not how galactic politics worked. Alliances were built on power, not cooperation. The strong ruled the weak. That was the natural order. A Theshan diplomat spoke up. What do you want in return? What is the cost of joining? Jiwan smiled. There is no cost. We ask only for peace. Trade with us. Work with us. Help us explore the galaxy and build something better than what came before. That is all we want. The aliens did not fully believe her. They had never encountered a species like this. Humans had proven themselves to be terrifying warriors, capable of destroying the greatest military power in the galaxy. Why would such a species not want to rule? But they were also desperate. The Council's collapse had left chaos everywhere. Shipping routes were disrupted. Trade had stopped. Some worlds were running out of food. They needed help. Over the next few weeks, species began to join the Free Systems Accord. First the Velcor, then the Theshans, then the Morwani. One by one, they signed agreements with humanity. Not out of fear, but out of hope. Maybe this time would be different. Captain Yuna was exploring the outer rim when she found them. A species called the Torvani, small creatures with gray skin and large black eyes. They had been slaves of the Council for centuries, forced to work in mines and factories, treated as property rather than people. When the Council fell, the Torvani were forgotten. No one came to free them. No one came to help them. They were dying. Yuna brought her ships into orbit around their world. She loaded her cargo holds with food and medicine and took them down to the surface herself. The Torvani looked at her with confusion and fear. Who are you? Their leader asked. I'm Captain Yuna of Earth. We heard you needed help. Why would you help us? We have nothing to offer you. Yuna knelt down so she was at eye level with the small creature. You don't need to offer us anything? That's not why we're here. The Torvani did not understand. In their experience, no one helped without wanting something in return. But Yuna did not ask for anything. She just gave them food and medicine and promised to come back with more. When she returned to her ship, her first officer looked at her with curiosity. Why did we do that? They really don't have anything we need. That's the point, Yuna said. We're not the Council. We don't help people because it benefits us. We help because it's right. On the Council homeworld, Counselor Vexler sat alone in his empty chamber. His species, the Dominari, had lost everything. Their military was destroyed. Their empire was gone. Their allies had abandoned them. He was a leader with nothing left to lead. Commander Tehayan came to see him. Vexler did not know why the human wanted to meet, but he agreed. What did he have to lose? They sat across from each other in the chamber where, 1 year ago, Vexler had laughed at humanity's warning. The memory was painful. You destroyed us, Vexler said. His voice was hollow. Tehayan shook his head. You destroyed yourselves. We just helped. What do you want? To mock me? To celebrate your victory? No, I want to understand. Taehyun leaned forward. Why did you attack us? You had never met us. You knew nothing about us except what you saw in our broadcasts. Why did you immediately decide we needed to be conquered? Vexler was quiet for a long moment. Fear, he finally said. We saw your history. Your wars, your weapons, your capacity for violence. We saw what you had done to each other, and we knew that someday you would do it to us. So we decided to strike first before you became too strong. But we had not threatened you. We had not attacked anyone. You didn't need to. We knew what you were capable of. We knew what we would do if we had your power. So we assumed you would do the same. Taehyun sat back. He finally understood. You attacked us because you thought we were like you? Vexler lowered his head. Yes, and now? The alien looked up with tired eyes. Now I see that you are not. You had every chance to conquer us, to rule over us, to treat us the way we would have treated you. But you didn't. You offered peace. You offered cooperation. I don't understand why. Taehyun stood up. Maybe someday you will. But for now, I want you to know something. Humanity doesn't want your submission. We don't want your fear. We want to live in peace with everyone, including you. The invitation to join the Free Systems Accord is open to the Dominari as well. He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. You warned us that you would burn our cities. We warned you that we were coming. We kept our promise. Maybe it's time for your people to make a new promise. One about what kind of future you want to build. He left Vexler alone with his thoughts. 1 month later, a memorial was built on Earth. It honored everyone who died in the war, human and alien alike. It was a simple structure, a tall white pillar with names carved into its surface. Thousands of names. Too many names. Commander Taehyun stood before it on the day it was unveiled. Crowds of humans and aliens watched as he spoke. 1 year ago, the Galactic Council came to Earth. They demanded our submission. They threatened to destroy us. We gave them one warning and they laughed. He paused, looking at the names on the pillar. They are not laughing anymore. But we are not celebrating either. This war cost too much. Too many lives, human and alien, ended before their time. We did not want this fight. We only wanted to live in peace. He turned to face the crowd. Today, we build something new. The Free Systems Accord is not an empire. It is not a council of rulers. It is a promise. A promise that we will work together, respect each other, and never again let fear and arrogance lead us to war. He looked up at the stars. They came demanding our submission. We gave them one warning. They should have listened. His voice grew quiet but firm. Humanity keeps its promises. And now we promise this. We will build a better galaxy. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. Not through fear, but through trust. That is the future we offer to everyone. The crowd was silent. Then slowly they began to applaud. Humans and aliens together, standing side by side, looking toward a future they would build together. The war was over. The real work was just beginning.